Well, hey, hello everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Tech Tip Tuesday. My name's Ken Close. I will be your host, engineer and Healy World lover of the USA. I am joined by my awesome co-host, Jake Barron, head of operations for the Americas. Hey, Jake, how are you?
I can. Good evening, everyone.
Yay. And do we have Emmanuel tonight? Who do we have?
Yeah, so Manuel, he joined us a couple weeks ago along with Christian. He's been with us for over a year now, and on the tech support team, and he kind of was scoping things out a few weeks ago to see how we do things on Tech Tip Tuesday, and he's here solo today to help us out in the chat. And also, he was just named today the Employee of the Quarter for Q1 2025 for Healy World too. So we had a little bit of a celebration on our team call earlier today. So
That's awesome. Well, so
yeah,
those of you guys who don't know who Emmanuel is, like Jake was saying, so this is from the Healy tech support team. We always have a person in the background in the chat with you live from the actual Healy tech support team, customer service team, which can answer questions, dig up tickets, do all kinds of stuff. And we have the one that is the employee of the quarter. Come on, you guys. Big round of applause. So, we are in good hands tonight.
that's right.
So if you guys are not sure how Tech Tip Tuesday works, well, let me give you a little rundown. It is a chat-based forum. So Jake and I are live on screen, and then you guys put your stuff in the chat, and then Emmanuel is in the background of the chat also with those lightning fingers, adding content, answering questions, expanding on answers, all kinds of stuff. So you guys get like a trifecta, right, already of expertise. And then not only that, sometimes our audience even comes up with amazing answers and tips and such. So this is a really fun place to be. If you're not here on every Tuesday, I mean, I'm telling you, you're missing out. So what we can't do, I have to make sure we cover this. What we can't do is we can't treat, diagnose, prevent, or encourage any frequency programs for diseases, disorders, physical conditions like that. Okay. This is about the technology of Healy. This is about the apps that Healy uses. This is about the principles, the concepts, even expanded content around, even how people kind of push the limits a little bit on how they use Healy. But if you do have questions specific about like some things around conditions or physical ailments, things like that, we do have a resource to point you to because Healy has designed an app for that. So I think that we have covered everything. Jake, anything else we want to cover before we get started?
I think we're ready to get started. Yeah.
All right, guys, let's fire up the chat. Let's put some cool stuff in there. And of course, congrats on the employee of the quarter. All those little comments should probably be in there. We are recording this, so these live events wind up being on the YouTube channel where you can go and revisit them, view them, and they are also hyperlinked. So each time there's a question and then we discuss the answer, that's actually kind of a new hyperlink within the information on that video. Super
Yeah.
cool, right?
Yeah. So thank you, Lindley, for the comment here. I always learn something on uh, Tech Tip Tuesday. Yeah, that's why we do this call. And next up here, question from Susan. So she's not used her Healys in about 2 years or so, and she has 5. So do I have to do anything special to get them going?
Yeah.
Well, first you got to charge them, right, Ken?
You gotta plug them in.
Yeah. No, but I mean, okay, what's happened in the last 2 years,
Oh
Ken?
my gosh.
Quite a bit, but Emmanuel, thank you, Emmanuel, has already put some notes here into the chat here as far as what's happened. First, for sure, charge your devices. Second, download the newest versions of the app. So the ones Ken's pointing to on the screen there.
Right here,
Uh,
yeah.
the Pink Dot app was the original Healy app, is now the Healy 2 app. The Analyze app or the Blue Dot app is now the well, it's the Analyze 2 app that has a little bit different look as well. That's the biggest thing to make sure that you're using those apps. And when the Healy 2 app, that one's simple to connect to. There's no login or anything like that. So as soon as you download the new app, you should be able to scan the QR code or type it in manually and connect to the app there for the first time. And it should then, as the first time you do it, it'll load an update, and any programs you had will then be transferred onto the current app there. But the Analyze 2 app, that one, of course, requires a login. There's no more master key or anything like that. You're really just syncing everything from the cloud. So you log in, the same login information you're able to use with the prior app, but it's just a different process. And there's no manual sync or anything like that. As soon as you log in, it's syncing everything from the cloud there, assuming you're connected to Wi-Fi or cellular there. And you'll definitely notice a big difference in the user experience with the apps. The graphics and everything like that is much more modern. The platform is a lot more modern than it was before. Things are in different areas now. Like there's different sections for the Healy. If you want to do a resonance analysis, for example, that's the most common module used in there. You'll see there's a different section for the Healy programs, like the IMF program groups, a different section for the MagHealy program groups, and then a third section for the resonance databases. So that one's separate to where you find your Bach flowers and Alaskan gem elixirs and that type of thing as well. All those are in a separate section too. And I mean, really, once you're logged in, if you have any issues logging in, that's a different question. But as soon as you can log in, just try it out. And if you haven't looked at anything with that, and maybe you've never been to Healy Academy either, if it's been a couple of years as well, and that's an amazing resource too to check out. I'll pull it up here in a minute, but different resources available to help get you started with each of the different apps as well, and it kind of guides you through each of those sections. So let me log back in here, but yeah, welcome back after 2 years. So happy to.
right. And like Jake said, Susan, number one, charge it up, because that's you need to let it charge fully.
Maybe you'll have to do a hard reset. I don't know if it's been long enough or something. It might be a good idea just to do that.
Yeah, well, if you're not sure what a hard reset is, let's just talk about that for just a second, because you can take your Healy hardware, right, and the power button itself, you just simply press and hold that button until the green light comes on solid, and then release it. And the green light will stay on solid for just a few seconds and then goes off. And that means that the Healy is now kind of reset to factory settings. Maybe it makes it a little more seamless or streamlined for connecting. Anything that might have been kind of locked into the memory of the Healy in the past is now wiped out, which is okay, because when you log in, or I should say when you attach to your pink app, the Healy 2 app, it's going to still, based on the serial number, because remember what you've got to do, you've got to scan the serial number on the back, or you have to put the serial number in when you open the Healy 2 app. There's a spot that's going to ask you. First thing happens is you have to agree to a disclaimer, right? And then the second thing that happens is it's going to need to connect to your device. It's going to seek devices, and you turn the Healy back on, and then the app is going to seek and find that Healy device, right? Once it finds it, you're going to scan the QR code or manually put in the code, and it's going to then download all of the features of your edition, whatever edition that you just got done scanning, down to the app and populate the app. So now the app's ready to go, right? You can connect to the microcurrent, or you can run the Healy coil, whatever you want to do. Now you're up and running with the pink app or the Healy 2. I love the fact that we don't have a master key anymore. Remember that was some few challenges here and there with the master key when it came to logging into the blue app, right? There's none of that anymore. The cool thing about that is once you you open that app and you log in. Now that's going to be the same login that you log into your shop page, right? Or your back office if you're a member. Same login credentials. You log in and it's going to then send an email code to the email that's on file for that account. So make sure you're able to get to that email, right? And that code, you just import that code and then put it into the app, and bam, you're gonna download. It's gonna sync automatically, like Jake said. Every time you open that blue app, it automatically syncs with your Healy cloud, right? You don't need to do any of that anymore. I mean, I just love the fact that some of these things are way more seamless. Not that we didn't figure it out in the past, but man, I'm feeling like I got nothing to do anymore. I don't have to push a bunch of buttons. I don't have to seek a bunch of codes. I'm like, this is easy. But anyway, the point is like now you've got these two apps. I have still people who go, my Healy's not working anymore. I haven't used it in 9 months or a year. It doesn't work anymore. Well, you need to do these updates. Okay. So hopefully that helps you out, gets you rolling. And like Jake said, oh my gosh, the Healy Academy, you can access everything from the apps now. Right. You can even order coffee. No, I'm kidding. But you can access everything from the apps, your academy, the manuals. I mean, all kinds of stuff you can get right there from the app. I
Yep.
think, Jake, I think they need to put a link in there, a little tab in there to get to Tech Tip Tuesday recordings. I think.
That's right. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, for sure. So while we're here, let me go back to where it was. I'll just share Healy Academy just for a minute. And okay, so this is Healy Academy. If you haven't used your Healys in a couple of years, we had an academy back then, but it didn't have a whole lot of content in there. But you get to this by just going to academy.healy.world. And Emmanuel, maybe you can put the link into the chat when you get a chance here, just so we can follow along. And you log into this using the same login that you do for the Analyze app or for Healy Shop or whatever the case, same thing there. And when you log in, if you're new to the apps, like for example, you can go to the Healy section, okay, Healy device. And this section is going to focus mainly, or almost the whole thing, on the new Healy 2 app. And this video here, Healy and MagHealy First Steps, is a great sort of overview of just getting started, quick, general tips for using the new app as well. But there's guide for your Healy device, installing and connecting the app, setting up and running the programs, troubleshooting, the expert area, the info center, everything about the Bluetooth connection, how the Healy programs work. This is one of my favorite videos as well. It goes through the different modes when you're running a program in the real-time mode, resonance mode, or selection mode as well, and how it's determining which frequencies to send to you, which is one of the big things that sets Healy apart from other frequency devices on the market, where they might give everybody, you're running a sleep program, it gives everybody the same frequency. For Healy, there might be a pool of 400 frequencies for that one program, and it's going to determine which ones you need the most and give you those frequencies. So it's individualized there as well. There's a good video here on how to change the current level of your Healy from low to high or high to low. And it's a lot easier than it used to be. You just do it within the Healy 2 app as well. There's a current section. You can go switch back and forth and tuning your bioenergetic field. So this is a great section for the Healy 2 app. And then if you want to learn more about the new Analyze 2 app, just go to the Analyze app section, and it'll walk you through each of the steps: getting started, client management, resonance, aura, demo mode, settings. There's detailed aura analysis training, meridian module training here too. So some cool videos there. And there's a whole science section now, science behind, say, the information field. And this gets pretty deep as well. Everything from quantum physics to, talking about consciousness and physical noise generators. And, this is very cool stuff. Maybe you want to watch one of these per day and just kind of let it sink in or come back and review it. So there's so much. You could spend a couple weeks here just going through all the stuff. And for a lot of them, you can take courses also. So like getting started with the Healy, you can, if you wanted to take this course, you watch the series of videos, and at the end, you can take a little test, and then if you pass the test, you get a little certificate, which is kind of cool. But you can't do the test until you've watched each of the videos there as well. And download section, this is, we talked about the app manuals a little bit ago. You can download those or view those from within the apps themselves, but you can also go here and say go to manuals, and then you'll see you can download the Analyze app manual, the Healy app manual, or the MagHealy manual. These are great overviews. They're very comprehensive. The Healy app manual itself, I think, is like 40 something pages long, but it goes through each of the individual program groups, and it tells you a little bit about the group in general, and then some of the programs have a little bit more of a detailed analysis there too. So it's a lot has happened in the last 2 years as far as the resources that are available. And of course, we have this call pretty much every Tuesday as well. And then we also have our Healy World Learning Hub on YouTube. So this is, if you go to healylearninghub.com, it'll take you right to this channel on YouTube. You can also find it by going to @Healy World Learning Hub from within YouTube. And this is where we post the recordings of Tech Tip Tuesdays, Frequencies and Friends, that kind of thing. There's also, this recently was turned into a global channel. So we have trainings from the EMEA region. We're going to be adding some trainings, some Healy Advanced trainings from the APAC region as well over the next few weeks. We have this cool new shorts section that Henry Pena, our onboarding specialist, does an amazing job with as well. And there's actually a video here about how to do a hard reset. So we talked about that one a little bit earlier. This one here about learn how to troubleshoot your Healy with a quick hardware reset. These are like a minute long, minute and a half, whatever, pretty short as well. These are very cool. And also, actually, since it's been 2 years, you might want to go through an onboarding session with Henry. So if you go to healyonboarding.com, that'll take you to, let me go back to the main page. But so you can pick getting started with your Healy device. This focuses on, it's intended for, it goes even through the unboxing, but it talks about how to get connected to the Healy 2 app and some of the tips that go along with it. And then there's a separate training on the Analyze 2 app as well, which is certainly worth going through. But if you wanted to say, schedule one of these, you just click on the meeting you want to schedule, pick one of the dates and times, and then these are small group trainings, 10 people or less. And, Henry has a presentation that he goes through. They're about an hour long, but you can ask questions along the way. So we have recordings of these available on our YouTube channel, but if you join it live, of course, you have the benefit of being able to ask questions along the way too. And Henry does an awesome job with these. So we have an extensive Healy Academy. We have a Healy World Learning Hub on YouTube with lots of trainings as well. We have onboarding sessions for both of the apps on a regular basis throughout the week. So you're in good hands now as far as helping to get set up again as well. So, use whatever resources you want to, or use some of them, or use all of them, whatever fits with your schedule. There should be something that can work for you. But
you can spend like Jake was kind of modest in saying, you can spend a couple of weeks. Now you can spend several months just learning about and all the resources and the recordings. We just had a really fun little contest last week on here on Tech Tip Tuesday about with some questions about how many questions have been asked on Tech Tip Tuesday, or how many. There was some really cool questions to kind of give you an idea about how much information is available, and I mean, it's thousands of questions. We've got, I don't know, probably hundreds of hours. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just saying
we
in
do.
terms of
We do.
recordings.
There's hundreds of videos on there now. So,
Yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
a lot of content. You can get lost, so just what do you want to accomplish? I always ask people all the time. I said, when people say, well, what do I do with Healy? What do I use? I ask them one question: what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? Right? And if you can kind of narrow it down to what do I want to do in my body, right? And then focus on that, because I guarantee you, once you start to gain, when you focus on that, you'll wind up rabbit holing this and that and the other, but at least you've got a goal that brings you back to center every now and then, because you can definitely get all over the place with the
yeah,
academy alone. Like Jake was saying, quantum physics. You can learn quantum physics. What? I mean, seriously, you can get in there and get pretty cool on some of that stuff. And
yeah.
now
I
with
mean,
the master classes now that are on
yeah,
the, oh my gosh.
yeah, exactly. And there's, of course, when you introduce Healy to people or you're using it, the question, well, how does this work? The Healy 2 app, it's a little bit more, easy to understand. You hook up these cables and you're using microcurrent and whatever. But when you talk about the Analyze app and people are talking about doing a remote analysis for somebody in a different country and then vibrating frequencies for them, I mean, the logical question is, well, how? And
Right.
there's trainings in there that explain this in depth because it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can explain it in general, but if you really want to know deep, how it's working, these videos do a good job because it's very, the technology that we're working with here is very advanced.
There's scientific information about how quantum entanglement actually works. It's not, as Einstein said, spooky science at a distance, right?
Yeah.
But there's actually science that gives information about how Healy is creating this entanglement through consciousness, or I should say through the consciousness influence on technology. So, super great. And when you can speak that language to somebody, usually they either drop their mouth like in, deer in headlights kind of look, or they're just fascinated and want to hear more, right?
Yeah, I mean the Nobel Prize in Physics 2 years ago was for researchers working to prove quantum entanglement is real. So
Yep.
it's a real thing, and it's going to become people are going to be more and more aware of how this actually works, and we're certainly ahead of things. And there's new
Oh,
research coming out, and constantly there's some new advancements and new things coming in a few months here that are really going to generate a ton of interest as well.
so we definitely went down a long little rabbit hole there, guys. And
That's
I mean,
great. Yeah,
thanks for that
we, we
question.
hit we
That's
hit 2 years to recap there. So.
I know, right? So thanks. Welcome back, Susan, and thanks for the 2 year
Yeah.
little
That
boost
was
there.
a 2 year recap in 15 minutes.
The motivation to get that. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
So Ethel's got a question here. It says, if if I have my cell on automatic update, etc., will it download on their own? Now, so I'm assuming we're talking about those apps that we just got done talking about, right? So when your mobile device is on automatic update, it's updating the operating system in the smart device, whatever you're running on, either iOS or Android. That's what automatic updates are doing. So in other words, it'll update any software that might come along with the operating system. Now you can have apps on an update kind of schedule, but they'll always ask you. Most of the time, they'll ask you if we can do an update, or some of them will not. Now, these apps are completely different apps, so they're not the old ones that we had before. That, like Jake was talking about, the pink dot and the blue dot, how we used to refer to that. So those are not these new apps are not them. So those old ones will not ask you to do an update on your smart device. They won't. They're not supported anymore. So the app developers that Healy fixed those up and got those going for us, there's no longer any support for those. So your smart device will not ask to update them. Does that make sense? So these new apps you're going to have to physically load on your device and then delete the old ones. You don't need them anymore. You can see them in the background here. My picture, I still show them up here to give people reference, the little pink dot one, and then the new one. They look different. You can see that behind me. They look different. And then the blue one's the same. It looks different. And so you're going to need to load these new guys here and then log in, or I should say activate through those apps. Your smart device, Ethel, will not do that for you automatically. Okay.
Yeah, but going from new version of app or new app from one to the other, yeah, it won't work. But if you're talking just the current version of that, like the Analyze 2 app, there was an update a few days ago, version 2.5.1, that had a few enhancements as well. There was a little change to the aura display, or that kind of thing. But for that, most people didn't have to do anything. Like the next time you opened your app, it would have automatically been there. That's sort of the default as well. When you're talking about going from version 2.4 to 2.5 of the same app versus going from Analyze App 1 to Analyze App 2, which is a different story. But yeah, some of that is device specific. I think there's a way in some settings to change it to not automatically load the current version of the app, but for most people it's by default set to auto update, I think.
Yeah, when you open the blue app, you'll notice that especially if you've logged in before and then you did some work and then you just hard close the app, and then the next time you came and you open the app, you'll notice this, of course, the disclaimer, and then there's this raining down animation, which is kind of cool. That's the animation signifying the download or the upload or the interface between the Healy cloud and the app. So it's doing all of the updates right there. It's storing all the information. It's connecting to your Healy account, and then it's basically ready to run. So that's the process it's doing, and you don't have to do anything, right? Because you didn't log out in the past, right? You can hard close the app. You don't have to log out. You can hard close the app, right? And then when you open it up again next time, you don't have to log back in. It just automatically does that, what I just mentioned, and you're ready to rock and roll. So, and Dory's asking here, so if I have two Healys, are there two updates to do? So again, remember, the apps themselves are kind of these, they are kind of like the portal, right? From the Healy to your account. And then they also orchestrate all the action. So you don't have to do once you've done an update to the app, no matter which Healy accesses the app, it's still going to function in the same manner. Now, if you have one Healy that say is a professional and another Healy that say is a gold, right? And you open the Healy 2 app with the gold, it's going to just have certain program capacity, right? Versus the professional. So you'll see that. It'll be reflected in the app. You'll just see the number of line items or pages that are available for you to access with that particular version. Okay. It's kind of, it's really more automated, right?
Yeah. So I mean, if we're talking just the app itself, yeah, you don't need to do multiple updates. If you have 5 devices, you don't need to do 5 updates. But if you say Healy gives everybody a new free program, like last year it was Cosmic Growth. Everybody that has a Healy. So Susan, you probably don't even know next time you update you load your Healy 2 up, you'll see Cosmic Growth in one of the program groups there as well. But in that case, yeah, if you have 5 Healys, you're basically, well, when you connect to the Healy 2 app, you'll see an update each time available depending on which device you're connecting to there.
Right on. A lot of great information. Yeah.
Yeah, these are great questions.
So Dory's asking, here's a question. Is there a program to cleanse and regenerate crystals? So think about a crystal for a minute. Well, first of all, when you're asking to regenerate a crystal, um, a material form in space and time, aka a crystal, a gemstone, whatever. As long as there's physical form to them, they're not going to deplete. But you can, they can have influence from other environmental, I guess you might say, conditions. You can increase their energy by simply allowing earth, sun, environment, that kind of thing. Now, can Healy do some input on crystals? Sure. You can do some things within the Blue app, which has a database for crystals, and you can actually go into that database. You can do a scan on yourself in that database. You can see which crystals might accent what you're doing and what you need. So if you have those crystals, you can also have them with you. And the Healy is going to send frequencies coherent with that crystal structure, right? And so anytime you have a coherent frequency, it's called constructive interference. So yeah, you're kind of charging them up. You're also charging yourself up. So you're building a coherent signal between both the Healy's frequencies and the mass, the material form of a crystal, and building that bridge. So that's a pretty cool program, by the way. That one is that the Gem Elixir? No,
Alaskan jet elixirs.
no, it is the.
Brazilian.
Is it? Let me think. Let me think of which database that is because I don't use them all the time,
Yeah.
but within your database grouping, um, it's one of the. Let me look real quick here.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think it's amazing. I like crystals. I will wear them.
Mhm.
I love bracelets and necklaces and all that kind of stuff, or have them around. I have this amazing couple of these amazing crystals in my car. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, and so the cool thing about those is our nature, the sun, our planet, water, all that kind of stuff actually enhances those crystals when they're just outside in nature. When you tuck them away or hide them in a man-made, I don't know, something, it lowers their energy. Get them out, get them into the air, into the world. All right, I'm trying to open up. I'm using one. I'm using this Healy. So by the
Yeah.
way, folks, we know that and Susan, this is also some cool things about these new apps, but some of the old principles still apply. So Lindley just said Alaskan gem elixirs. Yes, so that's the one. That's the one that is the database that has all the amazing gems and stones and such, and you do an analysis on yourself, and it'll give you that list. You can also then have those various 3D forms right in your hands, and it will amplify those. But Susan, as I was saying, you could still your Healy will still only be ran by one app at a time, either the pink app or the blue app. Once it's locked in and connected via the Bluetooth signal, if you want to switch from the pink app to the blue app, you have to hard close the pink app first and then go to the blue app before it'll open it and run it. But the cool thing about these apps is you can actually run multiple devices at the same time. What?
Again, it's been a while since we launched the Analyze 2 app, but I think one of the thinking back now, one of the biggest changes was the fact that you can use it in the background now. Before you had to have it open on your main screen, and you couldn't say a phone call comes in and it stops your program, and you're done. Now it doesn't have to be on that sort of active screen. It can be in the background as well, and it's not gonna stop, and you'll lose your place. But
Exactly. It'll still be performing the task, whatever you're doing, in the background. So you can actually just put it in the background instead of being in the foreground, and it'll still be functioning the same, which is fantastic. Okay. Yeah. So within these databases, by the way, too, is that we're just talking about Alaskan gem elixirs. When you go to the database and you see that line item, that category, there's a little number in parentheses after the description of that database, and that number equates to the number of different entities within that database. So in terms of Alaskan gem elixirs, there's 48. So there's 48 different gems and stones and crystals and things in that database. And you can go into that database, and if you want to see what they are, instead of doing an analysis or anything, that kind of thing, you can just go into that database. And at the bottom, there's a little statement that says further info on this database. You click on it. It's actually a button. It's just text, but it's actually a function. You click on that, and it will list all of those in alphabetical order from A all the way down to Z. I think it only goes to W. But anyway, from A to W, all of the different crystals and gems and stuff that are in there. So you can take a look at all that. It's really cool. All right. Thank you, Lynn,
Emmanuel, for putting all these links to the onboarding sessions and the YouTube channel and the Academy. So Ken,
sure.
You want to explain how to save the chat?
Yeah, I always do. I do this about every show, like you guys, because there's so much great content in the chat, right? Within your chat box there's three little dots, usually at the top, right next to our Tech Tip Tuesday thing. There's three little dots. Tap on those or click on those. And if you're on your laptop or on your computer, your PC, it'll pull up a menu, and there's an item where you can click on Save Chat. So at the end of our call, when you click on Save Chat, you're not actually going anywhere. You're still in our call. But at the end of our call, when you get off the call, there'll be a window that pops open that'll have the file with this chat in it and all this content in that file. And you can save it on your desktop or email it to yourself, whatever. You can do whatever you want. So anyway, but you have to click on those three little dots. And so Rebecca said, I don't see those three little dots. So in your chat, in the box where you're putting your content, your chat, if you go all the way to the top of the tippy, there's the top of the box, it'll say Healy Tech Tip Tuesday, right? There's three little dots right next to that. And the first line item right there says Save Chat. Okay. So it's right at the top of that whole box. If you're in your chat, you're going to see all the content that's in a line there. And then in the bottom is where you're actually writing in your
screenshot there, Ken, and put it into the chat of what it should look like if you're not on a mobile device. The three dots there, but
yeah, if you're on a mobile phone, you can't save it to the mobile phone, right? You have to be on a laptop or your computer. You find it?
I have not joined a Zoom call from my phone in a long time, so I don't know if that's something maybe they've changed, or if they'll ever add that option to be able to save it to like your files or something like that. But I'm not sure what the reason is for that.
These updates, I've in fact, I think I just had an update just the last time I did a Zoom call, another update. So these platforms are updating and giving more capabilities all the time. So you might take a look if you're on your mobile device, if you can save that chat now. It wasn't able to be done. Maybe it is now.
I don't know.
Okay. So Dory's asking a question here. When you run a MagHealy program and it ends and the light goes off, is it still using the battery when the switch is still on? So in other words, on the MagHealy, you've got essentially 3 positions for the switch, 1, 2, and 3. In position 2, it's like the on function, and the lights are on. It's seeking the app. It's ready to be used. Position 3 is the same thing, but it also has additional lights that are giving indications as to what's happening and more fancy looks to it. In position 1, it's essentially off. Now, unless you've got it on the charging plate, it's in the off position, right? Now, if you have it on the charging plate and you're running a program, you don't have to move that switch. You can actually turn it on and run it. But to your question, at the end of the program and you're still in the position 2, if it's still connected to the Bluetooth, it's still on, right? I mean, it's still using battery power, but it's not as much. It's not really doing anything, but you're still essentially on.
Mhm.
If the Bluetooth is off, in other words, you've shut the app off, and now there's no Bluetooth, and there's no green light function. But I think I haven't done this for a while, whether that green light still flashes or not. But when you're in position 2, it's still classified as on. I don't know if you're consuming You're not really consuming the battery though, if you're not running a
Yeah,
program.
running a program.
You're not doing much. Let me see. I'm gonna actually just give that a little test drive because I don't do that. Um,
Yeah.
usually when my program's over, I just like
Uh-huh.
I turn it off.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dory says not connected to Bluetooth and not on charger. Okay, so yeah, so you're running the MagHealy. The green light is on. It's connected to the pink app or the Analyze app. Um, and you're just you just have it on. Um, that green light should be showing that it's on. So we'll just give that a little. I'm running mine right now. So if there's no green light on and there's no blue light on, but the switches is still in position number 2, it's one of two things. It's either dead, right? The battery's dead, um, or it's in the dormant mode. But if you're running a sleep program all night, the green light's probably when it's off and the switch is in position 2, it's probably dead, right? The battery's probably depleted.
So it's not dead, but yeah.
Okay, here's how you test that. Here's how you test that. Send it another program. Turn your app back on, turn the Bluetooth back on, see if it finds it, because it will activate the green light, it will activate the Bluetooth light, and if it doesn't do that, then the battery's dead. I mean, it's just the way they operate. It's 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 off, or it's either connected to your app or it's not. Okay, so um, so Dory says I've done that many times in the morning. So if the battery's not dead, you're in switch position number 2. No lights on the MagHealy. If you go back into the app, open the app, and it should find the MagHealy, which will mean that it should activate the Bluetooth light. If it doesn't do any of that, then it's in dead mode or dormant mode. You have to switch the switch off and then back on because it's in power saver or dead mode. I mean, yeah, do that little experiment. Okay. Jennifer's asking, can you walk me through reset of my Healy Pro? Also, what is the latest update version? I'm assuming you're talking about the update version of the app because every Healy, well, not every Healy, but if you have a Healy that's a professional, it's going to have a version number, which could be different because you may have one firmware versus another firmware, right? But if you're talking about the app, what's the current version of whichever app you're using? Um, That's accessible, and you can find that in the app itself. If you go to the little gear at the bottom of the app, that's the settings function. That's the settings menu. Click on that, and there's I don't know, it's the 3 lines down. It is the version of the software, the third line or something. And that will tell you the version that you're in. I think it's actually, yeah, it is the third. I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at the third one down. It's the program version. You can also find out in the App Store what the current version is of the app. But what are we at now?
So for the Healy 2 app, we're at 1.51.1. And for the Analyze 2 app, we're at the 2.5.10. And as Ken mentioned, you can always check to see if you have the latest version. If you don't want to even open your Healy app, just go to the App Store. Like, for example, if I'm on the Apple App Store here, you'll see there's an app version available right there, and it'll tell you under the what's new. There's a what's new section. I don't know if you'll be able to, I won't be able to see this, but you kind of get the idea. It says version 1.51.1 released a month ago, and it tells you bug fixes, performance improvements, whatever. And then the key thing here, though, is if you open your app store and you'll see there's an open button. If there's an open button, it means that you already have the latest version. If there's an update available, that open button will actually say update, which in that case, you just click update and it'll manually load that update for your app there. But if you pull this up in your app store, it just says open, you do have the latest version available.
Yeah, and let me clarify something I was talking about too regarding what you're looking at in the app and the Healy that you're connected to in that app, versus what Jake's talking about too with the app itself. So the app itself from the App Store, you've got a version, whatever that is, right? And like you said, it's 1.5, but 1.51.1, something like that. Yeah. But in the Healy app, when you are connected to a Healy and you look in the content there under settings, it's got a serial number. Okay, that's the serial number that you're connected to. And there is a version of that serial number, that hardware, this guy, that's also listed in the app. It's in the app, but it's talking about your Healy device, not the app, right? So it's that information there's a first line says firmware. That's essentially kind of the circuitry and such that's inside that device is a firmware number. Then you have a Bluetooth firmware, and then you have a program version, which is that represents what your Healy hardware, when you purchase it as an edition, it's what that edition is, right? That number that's there. And if there's an update to that, that's a little bit different formula, right? There are updates that automatically happen when, like Jake was saying earlier, if there's a new program that comes out and you get it for a little bit, a short period of time, right? That update goes to your Healy serial number, and then changes that program version for a minute, right? Because it's kind of attached to that. And you can manually, from that position I was just telling you in settings, when you're looking at the information about your Healy in the app, you can actually manually do an update from the app right there. When you look at program version, there's a little arrow. Little hint, folks, if there's a little arrow next to something, there's probably more content in the menu, right? So click on that little arrow and it'll go over. If there is content to view, it'll pop over there and give you some information. If there's not, it may just do an update, like a little circle-y thing going around and around. That means it's updating, looking for new versions to that program content list, and then downloading it to your app. So, I mean, while we're on that spot in the Healy 2 app under settings, remember the way you know you're there, you're under settings. and you're taking a look at MagHealy, which is the top piece or the top menu item, and you see your serial number. Now that means it's connected to a Healy and to a specific serial number. The information below that, some of those lines have an arrow next to them. Like I mentioned, that's an expandable menu. But one of those, like earlier, Jake said something about how it's easier to change from low to high in the app itself. Down towards the bottom, there's a current level of your Healy. And you can actually change from low to high or high to low right there in the app. Okay, simple to do. Click on that little arrow that expands the menu. There's a low and high function there. Click on one you want, say done. You have to agree to another disclaimer, continue, and then say yes. Now, the cool thing about that is it relates to the update information I was talking to you before that, right? Because once that request you just made by going from either low to high or high to low, it goes to your cloud, and then the cloud sends a signal down to update the Healy hardware, right? Which is kind of cool. And then if you close the app and open it again, it takes I don't know, a little bit of time, not much. Close the app and open the app again, and you may see on the screen an update's available. If you don't, you can actually go back to what I said earlier under program version within that settings menu. And if you tap on that, it may say an update's available, and it'll automatically change you from whatever setting you just made. There's some training on this, by the way, on how to do that, but it's just easier now in the app. I think it's pretty fun. I was just actually looking at one of my Healys just now while I was talking about doing that, and it was set to low, and I was wondering, I was like, oh, I must have did that just playing with it when we were probably on this call. And it's my first Healy, by the way. It's the first Healy I ever got right here. 5 years old. This is the grandfather right here.
Yeah, as of, what's it, last summer, I think it was, all the Healys shipped by default at high current now. For a couple of years there, they shipped at low current, and then you have the option to switch them to high current, which most people did. But we realized that now that it's so easy to switch back and forth, and the fact that most people do prefer the high current, that's the default now. And you can, if you're sensitive to microcurrent, it's very easy to just switch it down to low current.
Super easy. There was a little history lesson, by the way, for those that have been around for a while. You know this, but a little history lesson. Once upon a time, during our restricted in space and time, everybody was staying home time. Remember that? Remember that? There was some supply chain issues, and Healy had a little some supply chain things getting the straps, and so they went to a temporary strap wristband, and it was less resistive and more. It transmitted at a higher rate. Conductivity, the material it was made out of, things were different, and so people were like, "Oh my God, this is too much, too much." And so Healy created a way to down regulate that output, to put a governor on that current flow output. And that's where that high-low setting thing came from. And it's just stuck because there were some people, not very many, but some people are super sensitive and like that feature. So Healy adapted. Again, isn't it what's necessity? Necessity is the invention of creativity, right? And so it was necessary to be able to adjust with the straps and the current flow and all that kind of stuff. And so, bam, we now have those two settings. Your little history lesson. Some of you guys already know that. Maybe some don't. All right. How are we doing? We're caught up, aren't we?
Yeah, we're caught up. Got about 5 minutes to go here.
Dory helped me out with my little statement there. Necessity is the mother of invention. There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say. So if necessity is the mother of invention, wouldn't the father be creativity? I'm just saying. I just think that would work.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Is there any for for Susan, who hasn't done much with her Healys in 2 years, anything else you would recommend? Maybe if you have a wristband, maybe give them a little like rinse or a little cleaning, you know, so they've been sitting there for a period of time. Maybe buy a new set of adhesive electrodes from the Healy shop or something like that, because those do have a sort of a best buy date guaranteed as well, as far as the like adhesive part. But any
So one of the cool things about so our new Healy 2 app again is got the app itself. Remember the original Healy app, you could there was a circle that went around and it was either black or white. Well, there was a gray condition too, right? And it would tell you if you're getting current flow through your body or not getting current flow through your body. The cool thing about this new app is that it actually gives you a message if you're not getting proper current flow through the body. So as Jake was talking about, maybe a sticky pad that's not, you know, it's old and not giving you good conductivity, or the wristbands themselves have been sitting around. I highly recommend that you wash them. Now, don't be afraid of getting them wet. I take mine and run them under warm water, and I use a little bit of low detergent or pH balance Dawn dish soap or whatever, and I just give them a nice little rub, rinse them off, shake them off, and they're good to go, right? But the new app tells you if you're getting conductivity or not. Different than the circle and the color of the tail. Nowadays, now what it shows you is it gives you a little message. It shows you like a waveform going across the screen that you're getting the current flow. And as you increase the intensity of that wave flow, the waveform gets bigger on the screen, right? It gets taller or shorter based on the intensity. But there's a message below it, a text that says that frequencies are still flowing, but current flow isn't. So you're not getting current flow. So that's the new way of telling if you're connected properly or not. The progress that still shows you the progress of a specific frequency, but that's kind of a new little thing to figure out if you're getting conductivity or not. And that's important that you're getting good conductivity when you're running the microcurrent. So as I mentioned before, I mean, if you've got multiple Healys, like you said, as I mentioned before, you can actually get one Healy started with the Healy 2 app, get it started, get it running, hard close the app, turn on your other Healy, open that Healy, open that app again, connect to Healy number 2, and get it running on you as well. You can actually run multiple Healys very easily on yourself. One maybe with a coil and one maybe with the wristbands. The cool thing about adding this frequency to the body is the body has its own intelligence. You're not going to overload the body. The body's going to differentiate and allow as its intelligence says so. The only thing you as a consciousness will experience is if you have the current too high or not, right? You know, you don't want to be feeling this sensation. No, that's not it. More is not better. Keep that still low so that it's under the radar of your awareness. So anyway, so I love running multiple Healys because we can run programs that are complementary. You know, something around memory and something about learning, right? Within the learning page, you can do that, or something around like muscle and strength. You're running those two at the same time. That's my favorite, by the way. But yeah, you can run these coherent programs simultaneously, and the body will kind of discern its needs. Okay. All right. Anything else, Jake?
I think we're caught up. Just got less than a minute to go here. So as you know, a reminder, hey, Susan, on your get your Healy back out, follow some of these tips, and then if you have any questions, we have a live chat feature now. It's actually available 24/7 through Harmony, our virtual assistant on our Healy shop. Can answer a lot of these common questions regarding, you know, proper usage and the new apps and these types of things as well. And if it's during business hours, if Harmony can't answer your question, it'll transfer you over to a live agent on our team as well to assist also. So
And tell her who Harmony is. Who's Harmony?
Harmony knows more than all of us.
Harmony's a new AI engine that Healy uses in the shop. If there's nobody at home, like nobody physically home, you go to that chat, and it's going to be Harmony, the AI, brilliant, amazing genius, that will answer all your questions. So, and the cool thing is Harmony is connected to the Academy and to all of the resources. I want to see some stuff from Tech Tip Tuesday. I want Healy to start saying, well, Ken said, I want Harmony's, I mean, say, well, Jake and Ken said on Tech Tip Tuesday that this, that would be fun.
And yeah, you can come back next week or the week after if you have any other things you want to discuss on this call. So
There you go. All right, you guys. Hey, thank you everybody for being here. It's been a pleasure. Make sure you click on those three little dots, save the chat if you wish, before we get off the call. And we will see you next week. Just maybe a little hint. Jake got a great suggestion. I might be doing a little live from
all right,
remote location on one of our calls coming up, and show you some,
nice.
just be in the energy field.
Cool
So
technology that's out there these days and things. Yeah.
amazing technology that's out there that accents what Healy does.
Yeah.
Healy accents it. So I'm just saying, might be out there, might be a remote thing coming up. We'll see.
Yeah. Like we're taking a virtual field trip or something like that.
Woohoo! All right, you guys. Well, tune in and stay tuned to what's going on. And we will see you next week. Thank you all for being here. Bye for now.